Today, the smartphone has become an extension of a teenager's hand. According to recent studies, the average Gen Z individual checks their phone 150 times a day and spends up to 7 hours daily on social media. But behind the bright filters and endless feed lies a growing epidemic: digital burnout. 4 out of 5 teenagers admit to feeling anxious when they can't check notifications. Every third feels tired and drained after prolonged time on social media. This isn't just a bad mood, it's cyber fatigue, a new type of emotional exhaustion. The problem extends far beyond simple overwork. Psychologists are raising the alarm. Constant immersion in the digital flow changes the neural connections of the developing brain. We are observing the first generation whose psyche is formed under the continuous influence of algorithms designed to capture attention at any cost. What happens to a teenager's brain when they spend hours scrolling through social media feeds? Neurobiologists compare it to a roller coaster ride for the nervous system. Every notification, every like, triggers a release of dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. The brain literally gets used to constant stimulation, demanding more and more digital, quote. Stanford University studies have shown that after 3 hours of continuous social media use, a teenager's dopamine system operates on the same principle as in addiction formation. A key difference in the developing brain is its plasticity and the incomplete formation of the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for self-control. At the same time, a paradoxical effect occurs. Constant stimulation leads to exhaustion. Neurons simply don't have time to recover. It's like a muscle that is forced to work without rest. It inevitably weakens and fails. The flood of contradictory information, emotional swings from positive to negative comments, the need to maintain an online image. All of this creates an enormous cognitive load. A teenager's brain literally overheats, like a computer processor with too many programs open. Scientists from Oxford found that prolonged social media use changes the activity of the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for emotional responses. Teenagers with signs of digital burnout show increased reactivity to negative stimuli and decreased reactivity to positive ones. Simply put, the brain starts to react more sharply to criticism and takes less joy in praise. When does the news feed become a source of stress? The moment arrives imperceptibly. First, a teenager opens Instagram to relax, and half an hour later feels anxiety and despondency. This paradox is explained by several psychological traps built into the very architecture of social platforms. The FOMO phenomenon, the fear of missing out on something important, has become a true epidemic among teenagers. 87% of young people admit to experiencing panic when they see a party and friends' stories that they weren't invited to. The constant feeling that life is passing them by turns ordinary scrolling into a source of chronic stress. An equally destructive mechanism is the endless comparison of oneself with others. Perfectly retouched photos of peers create unrealistic standards of appearance and success. At the same time, the teenager's brain doesn't account for the fact that they are only seeing carefully selected moments from others' lives. The result is a decrease in self-esteem and an increase in anxiety after each social media session. Platform algorithms exacerbate the situation by creating echo chambers and causing addiction. They analyze every second of user interaction with content and offer increasingly captivating material. Researchers from the University of California found that social media algorithms specifically display emotionally charged content that elicits strong reactions, from delight to indignation. This keeps the teenager's attention in constant tension. The endless scroll mechanism is one of the most insidious tools of digital addiction. The absence of a natural stopping point forces the brain to operate on autopilot. Neurophysiologists compare this state to a light trance, where critical thinking is turned off and time ceases to be felt. A teenager plans to spend 5 minutes in the app, but emerges from the digital rabbit hole 2 hours later, feeling drained and tired. How to recognize digital burnout in a teenager? The first signals often manifest at a physical level. Sleep disturbances become one of the earliest signs. The child can't fall asleep for a long time after putting down their phone, wakes up in the middle of the night to check notifications, and looks exhausted in the morning. Frequent headaches, tension in the neck and shoulders, dry and irritated eyes. All of this can indicate excessive gadget use. Pay attention to the teenager's emotional reactions. Sharp mood swings after time spent on social media, from euphoria to irritability and depression, are a classic symptom of cyber fatigue. The reaction to a lack of phone access is particularly telling. If a request to put aside the gadget during dinner causes disproportionate anxiety or aggression, it is a serious cause for concern. Behavioral changes also point to a problem. The teenager gradually loses interest in real-life communication and hobbies that previously brought pleasure. They may refuse family events or meetings with friends, preferring to spend time alone with their phone. At the same time, it's paradoxical that even time online stops bringing joy. The child continues to scroll through their feed out of inertia, for fear of missing out. A particularly alarming sign is the obsessive checking of reactions to one's own posts. If a teenager experiences genuine panic when a post doesn't get the expected number of likes, or constantly deletes and re-uploads photos in pursuit of an ideal image, this indicates the formation of an unhealthy attachment to digital approval. It is important to distinguish normal teenage behavior from symptoms of burnout. Teenagers naturally strive for communication with peers and identity formation through social groups. However, if virtual interaction displaces real-life interaction rather than complementing it, if social media use causes anxiety rather than joy, it's time to sound the alarm. Attentive parents are often the first to notice the alarming signals of digital burnout. But what exactly should raise concerns? Which behavioral patterns indicate that ordinary social media use has turned into a problem? Compulsive checking of notifications is one of the most obvious signs. When a teenager reaches for their phone every 5 to 10 minutes, even in the middle of a conversation or during a family dinner, it speaks to a developing addiction. An especially alarming sign is waking up in the middle of the night to check messages and immediately viewing notifications upon opening their eyes in the morning. Obsessive editing of one's own content should also cause concern. If a child takes dozens of selfies before choosing one to post, or spends hours editing a short post, it indicates excessive perfectionism caused by fear of social evaluation. Some teenagers delete photos that haven't gathered a certain number of likes within the first hour after posting, a vivid sign of an unhealthy attachment to digital approval. A painful reaction to comments is another token of anxiety. An ordinary joke or a neutral remark can provoke a disproportionate emotional reaction, tears, or anger. The teenager begins to perceive any criticism as a personal insult and an attack on their self-esteem. Obsessive comparison of social metrics manifests in constant conversations about the number of subscribers, likes, and views. A child can experience genuine depression if their post received fewer reactions than a friend's, or if the number of subscribers decreased even by a few people. Another dangerous signal is the phenomenon of, quote, zero. When a teenager feels non-existent notifications and constantly checks their phone, even though it hasn't signaled, this indicates that the brain is in a state of chronic anticipation of digital stimulation. Every time I posted a new photo, I literally couldn't tear myself away from my phone. For the first 10 minutes, I checked for likes every 30 seconds. If there were fewer than usual, real panic would set in, says Masha, a 10th grade student. Once, I posted a selfie that only got 12 likes in an hour instead of the usual 50. I cried, deleted the photo, and didn't leave my room all evening. That's when I first realized something was wrong. Andre's story reveals another side of the problem. Sasha, an 8th grade student, noticed changes in his perception of real-life communication. Lisa admits, behind each of these stories lies not just a bad habit, but deep emotional exhaustion. Teenagers describe similar symptoms: a constant feeling of anxiety, emotional swings, a sense of emptiness, and at the same time, information overload. This isn't just fatigue, it's systemic burnout affecting all areas of life. Digital detox for a teenager is not a strict diet with complete abstinence from technology, but rather a conscious readjustment of one's relationship with the virtual world. The first step to restoring balance begins with simply acknowledging the problem and being ready for change. Start small. Set specific time limits. A phone app can notify you when your social media usage limit has been reached. Gradually reduce this time, from 3 hours to 2, then to 1. It's important to move in small steps, not demanding the impossible from yourself. Do Not Disturb mode is your best ally. Configure it to activate at certain hours, especially during studies, family dinners, and before bedtime. Notifications are the main attention thieves, and turning them off gives the brain a much-needed break from constant stimulation. The next level is social media-free weekends. Choose one day a week for a digital Sabbath. Initially, this might cause anxiety and even physical discomfort. Your hands literally reach for the phone. This is a normal reaction to the withdrawal of a familiar stimulus, and it passes faster than it seems. Psychological preparation is no less important than technical solutions. Talk through your fears. The fear of missing important events, being left out of discussions, losing touch with friends. Write them down and analyze them. How realistic are they? What can truly happen in a day without Instagram? Plan in advance how to fill the free time. Nature abhors a vacuum, and without a plan, it's easy to revert to old habits. Make a list of offline activities that once brought pleasure, from reading books to walking with friends or creative pursuits. It's important to remember, the goal of detox is not to completely abandon technology, but to regain control over it. A successful detox is when you decide when to open an app, not when the app calls you with a notification. Imagine a digital diet not as a temporary restriction, but as a new lifestyle. Conscious and balanced consumption of online content. Just as we choose healthy foods for the body, we can learn to choose healthy digital experiences for the mind and psyche. The first principle of a healthy digital diet is setting clear boundaries. Create gadget-free zones in your home, the bedroom, the dining table, places for family communication. Physical boundaries help form mental ones. Define hours of digital quiet. For example, 2 hours before bed and an hour after waking, when the phone remains out of reach. The second principle is quality over quantity. Teach your teenager to analyze which apps and accounts truly bring benefit and joy, and which cause negative emotions. Conduct a subscription audit together. Unsubscribe from all accounts that leave a feeling of inadequacy or anxiety after viewing. Keep only what inspires, educates, or genuinely entertains. The third principle is conscious consumption. Instead of mindless scrolling, suggest that your teenager plan their online time. 15 minutes for chatting with friends, 20 for viewing educational content. This approach transforms passive absorption of information into active choice. The fourth principle is creating engaging offline alternatives. A teenager's brain craves novelty, stimulation, and social interaction. Offer activities that meet these needs. Sports clubs, creative workshops, volunteering, hikes. It's important that these activities include a social element, the main thing teenagers seek online. The fifth principle is gradual implementation of changes. A sharp refusal of the usual digital diet will cause resistance and likely a breakdown. Start small. For example, with 1 day a week when the family spends the evening without gadgets, playing board games or cooking dinner together. Gradually expand this practice. Paradoxically, technology itself can help in the fight against digital fatigue. Modern smartphones are already equipped with built-in functions for monitoring time spent in applications. The screen time feature on iOS and digital well-being on Android are the first assistants in realizing the scale of the problem. They don't just show the total phone usage time, but also detail it by application, allowing you to see exactly where hours of your life are slipping away. These tools allow you to set daily time limits for each application. When the limit is exhausted, the app icon turns gray, and attempting to open it brings up a reminder that the set time has been exceeded. You can, of course, ignore the warning, but the very fact of its appearance creates a moment of mindfulness, an opportunity to stop and ask yourself, do I really need to keep scrolling? For more serious control, there are specialized applications. Forest offers a gamified approach. While you don't use your phone, a virtual tree grows on the screen. If you pick up your phone before the set time, you kill the plant. The Freedom app blocks access to selected websites and applications for a set time, and Space tracks how many times a day you unlock your phone, helping you realize the obsessiveness of this habit. Applications that use principles of behavioral economics are particularly effective. For example, some programs require you to deposit real money, which you will lose if you violate the established restrictions. Others create social support systems where groups of users motivate each other to adhere to a digital diet. Content filtering tools are useful for protection against information overload. Browser extensions like News Feed Eradicator completely hide social media feeds, leaving access only to messages and notifications. And applications like Moment track not only the time spent on the phone, but also how its use affects your mood, helping to establish healthy correlations. A conversation about digital burnout with a teenager requires a special approach. Without accusations or moralizing, parental support should be a bridge, not a wall. Start at the right moment. When everyone is calm, there's no rush, and phones are put away. It's best to initiate a conversation during a joint walk or car ride. When you are near each other but not looking directly at each other, which reduces tension. Use I statements instead of accusations. I worry when I notice you look tired after a long time on your phone, instead of, you spend too much time on those social media sites. This approach allows you to express concern without triggering a defensive reaction. It's important to practice active listening. Fully focus on the teenager's words, don't interrupt, and don't rush with advice. Ask open-ended questions. How do you feel after several hours on social media? What do you like most and what tires you out about online communication? Instead of categorical prohibitions, offer to solve the problem together. Ask, how could we create a healthier balance between online and offline time? Involve the teenager in creating family rules for using gadgets. When they participate in decision-making, resistance decreases. Show a healthy relationship with technology through your own example. Children notice the contradiction between parents' words and actions. If you yourself constantly check your phone at dinner, your calls for a digital detox will be perceived as hypocrisy. Create alternatives to digital leisure. Plan family activities that are so engaging that the teenager will want to put their phone away themselves. These could be hikes, board games, culinary experiments, or joint creative projects. Remember the importance of respecting personal boundaries. For modern teenagers, digital life is part of their identity. Harsh prohibitions can be perceived as an invasion of personal space. Instead, offer support and show that you are on the same side in the fight against digital burnout. In a world where virtual connections often replace real ones, restoring offline relationships becomes a crucial step in overcoming digital burnout. Real-life encounters activate completely different neural communication than online communication and offer what social networks cannot: a full sensory experience and a deep emotional connection. Start by creating gadget-free family rituals. Weekly board games, cooking dinner together on weekends, or Sunday walks in the park. These simple activities restore the feeling of belonging to the family as a primary social group. It is important that these activities are regular and predictable. This creates a sense of stability that is so lacking in the chaotic information flow. Encourage offline group activities with peers, sports clubs, creative workshops, hiking trips, anything that requires physical presence and interaction. Studies show that teenagers who regularly participate in team sports are less prone to digital addiction and have a higher level of psychological well-being. Create a safe space for expressing emotions. Many teenagers retreat to social media precisely because it is easier to express their feelings there than in real life. Practice emotional openness in the family. Talk about your experiences and encourage your teenager to share theirs, without judgment, without devaluing, with genuine interest. Help your teenager find a new hobby unrelated to digital technologies. It can be anything, from playing the guitar to cooking, from skateboarding to drawing. The main thing is that the activity brings pleasure and gives a feeling of flow, a state of complete immersion when time flies by unnoticed and the mind is fully focused on the process. To overcome social anxiety caused by excessive use of social media, move in small steps. Start with comfortable social situations with 1 or 2 close friends, gradually expanding your social circle. Remember that social skills are muscles that atrophy without use, but also recover with regular training. We live in an era where digital technologies are no longer just a tool, but have become an environment. A complete rejection of social media today is as unrealistic as their uncontrolled consumption. The golden mean lies in a conscious attitude towards the digital world, where technology serves humans, not the other way around. Digital literacy is becoming a key skill of the 21st century. It's not just about knowing how to use apps, but the ability to critically evaluate information, understand the mechanisms of algorithms, and recognize their impact on our thinking. Teach your teenager to ask questions. Who created this content? For what purpose? What are they trying to sell me or instill in me? This approach forms informational immunity, protection against manipulation and toxic content. Conscious content consumption begins with a simple question. Help your teenager audit their feed. Which accounts inspire, provide useful knowledge, or simply genuinely bring joy? And which ones cause anxiety, envy, or emptiness? The digital environment, like the real environment, shapes personality, and the teenager must become an active architect of this environment, not a passive consumer. Equally important is to teach them to responsibly create their own digital footprint. What is published today can affect life years later. Discuss with your teenager questions of digital ethics and reputation. What image are they creating online? Does this image align with their values? Does their content harm other people? To maintain psychological health in the digital age, it's important to regularly practice digital detox. This doesn't necessarily mean a complete rejection of technology. It's enough to designate periods when you consciously disconnect from the information flow. Family dinners without phones, weekends in nature, an hour of reading before bed. These simple rituals become islands of calm in the turbulent digital ocean. Ultimately, a healthy relationship with technology is a matter of balance and mindfulness. The digital world, like any other tool, is neither good nor bad in itself. It all depends on how we use it. Help your teenager find their way in this new reality, a way where technologies expand possibilities rather than limit them.